Hello and welcome everyone to this very exciting episode, I would call this live stream FinTech by Hipsta. And I'm very glad that I was appointed to moderate this panel because I'm super excited to pick the brain of these two industry legends about all the latest FinTech innovations. Do we have too many FinTech companies? Do we have enough? What are the ethical way of approaching the merchants? Do we need to educate the merchant better, or we just keep them dumb to sell them more? So there's going to be so many interesting topics that we are discussing today with my panelists. My name is Victoria Scholtes. I'm the founder of PSP Angels, which is a payment and banking consultancy, setting up the big picture about the payment flow. But I'm also the founder of an institute, which is teaching, educating people about not just the fintech, but the payments and the banking and how banks think. Do we need to have a role dedicated to the payment and banking processes? So education is really close to my heart. So I would like to ask a bit more about, the education, doing the right thing, creating a transparent and ethical industry. So I'm super excited for my panelists. Let's start with you, Ugne. Can you tell us a bit more about yourself? How did you end up in fintech? And who do you represent today? What do you actually do?
Yes, hi Victoria, thank you, and hi everyone. My name is Ogne, and I am representing Enable Banking, where I run our operations here in Lithuania. And I'm in the open banking space almost since the beginning of the PSD2 regulation that brought open banking to Europe. And it's been quite a journey to watch open banking evolve from the regulation to the mature products and use cases that we see in the market now. And why I like Enable Banking, which is an open banking player, is that we act purely in the infrastructure layer that allows our clients to build revenue generating products on top of our connectivity and in a FedEx approach that we just pass the data through to the application of the customer's choice, but we are not keeping that data, which makes our solution private and neutral.
Nice. And what is your personal journey? Because no one becomes a fintech expert. I bet that you are either an accountant, a lawyer, or coming from different industries. So tell us a bit more because I always fascinated by hearing all these personal journeys. How did you end up in payments? Like, who are you, Ugne?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question that I didn't get back in a while. So my background before was actually in the different connectivity, in a radio connectivity with Motorola Solutions
Uh-huh.
distribution in Lithuania. And the main path chosen was to drive more in the business side. And somehow Enable Banking got on the radar. And that's my first gig in fintech with open banking as well. And yeah, it's been 6 years till then, since then.
Wow, yeah. I always love to hear these different stories because someone was a psychologist, someone was a biologist, someone just, working construction, and everybody is just ending up in payment. But getting to you, Saulius, we know each other for many, many years, but just for the audience, the same question. Who are you, Saulius? How did you end up in payments? And yes, what is your background and what is the company that you represent today?
Yeah, first of all, Victoria, thank you for this nice introduction. It's good to hear from this same kind of legend, very distinguished person. Thank you so much. It's good to have, say, around is the virtual table like the four legends. Good, all good. Okay, my background is really like, okay, let's start with my background. And is the financial services for more than 30 years. I had been through the various parts of the, say, this vertical. The beginning was really very, I would say, conventional, incumbent banks, what we call. I was heading the brokerage, investment banking, the asset management department of one of the biggest banking group local presence here in Lithuania. Then I've been through the very interesting experience working for the London-based company. It was like the investment company. Then I was involved in the, say, some kind of the venture capital stuff, like raising money for the, uh, how to say, globally born technology companies. And finally, around 10 years ago, again, embarked on the financial services. And at that time, Lithuania was really a very good place to restart, to refresh, because of very open policies towards the new licenses and towards especially getting access to SEPA. And I joined one company that was Connectway. I was one of the co-founders, first chief executive officer, and then chairman of the board. Also, it happened that we created a very powerful professional association. The initial name was FinTech LT. Now it's the Lithuanian FinTech Association. I was a board member for the 5 consecutive terms. Finally, this year decided to step down, And as of today, I'm managing the PaySup. It's a technology company, like created for reasons to provide the merchants with a better experience. And also, I'm the board member of the license in Latvia electronic institution, which is also part of this unofficial group. The name of this company is PaySFS. So I'm both, how to say, the horses. One is like the business horse, another one is regulatory horse. That's it.
What a journey, right? And I love that you were there from the very beginning when everything started, and your experiences actually covering all of those traditional, original ways about that. You just went through the whole evolvement and the innovation of the fintech industry. So it's super interesting to get your perspective on a couple of questions. Guys, tell me, why do we have so many fintech companies? Do we even need them? Is there any differentiation, or everybody's just jumping on the opportunity? What do you think, Ugne? Like, as you working in one of the fintech companies, do we even need so many of them?
Yeah, I believe that we need to have many merchants because there are many areas to serve and many areas to specialize in. From the payments perspective, there needs to be many payment methods available, and on that side, I think it would be complicated for one entity to overcome all the regulation burden, all the KYC, AML processes for certain risk profiles. So I think it's good that we have many fintech players specializing in different niches on how to serve the payments in different risk appetite, how to optimize those payment flows for different customers. And in that sense, I think it's good to have many sort of different players in the industry. And we also need to take into account that not all the merchants are large and could take in-house payment operations, but there are all sizes of merchants that needs to have the PSPs to serve those needs.
Right. More the merrier, right? We even learn from each other, from the competition. Maybe it enhances the competition, and it forces companies to innovate more and more. But Saulis, what do you think? I mean, you have been part of many fintech companies. You're also talking to the regulator on a daily basis. You're running actually an association to represent them. What do you think? Is it too many? Is it enough? Or is it not even
No,
enough?
Victoria, not too many. So we've been talking about the different paradigms, like political paradigms. Let's take
Mhm.
China. They have like two giants, WeChat and Alipay. Then we have America with those kind of the mature stars, I would say, but they happen also with quite big number of the players. That's a really belief in the free spirit of entrepreneurship, and it's good to start with quite even the big and defined number of the, say, payment service providers, and then for sure one has this goal to become, say, natural monopoly, take the heights, to take the paramount, of the business. That's okay. I'm very in favor of having this situation. For sure, we will be through, say, the phase of consolidation, phase of some maybe turnarounds and stuff like this. Finally, we're gonna, I hope, repeat the situation that America exists. But anyway, it's good to have this, the supply of the new challengers, of the new future monopolies. That's good. I'm here. I'm quite optimistic, and frankly speaking, I'm much in favor of this American European system than say the Chinese system with the two big and maybe very sophisticated, but only two big players.
Right, no to monopoly. All
Yeah,
right, it's a healthy competition.
yeah, it's
But
a
put
healthy
yourself,
competition.
but put yourself in a merchant position. Let's say that you start a business, a simple bakery. You don't know anything about financial services. All your goal is to get those payments through cheaper, faster, easier, and you don't even need to get involved. How do merchants think about it? Because now you're just typing into even Google or asking any of your AI, where do I find a merchant account? What is the best payment method? Is it open banking cards? They are already losing the whole industry at the first question. Put yourself in a merchant's position and tell me, how does it actually benefit the merchants to have all of these solutions, but how can they actually make the right decision? What do you think, Saulius? Just getting back to you, that yes, healthy competition, but what about the users?
Yeah, but Victor, we have like the two types. Say the quant one is like classical, it's a brick and mortar.
Mhm.
You mentioned bakery. That's okay. It's
Yeah.
not so big deal to get say the services. For Henry, you can find OTP, huge bank, you can get this. But I would rather prefer to talk about this how to say the globally born companies.
Mhm.
Even let's forget about any kind of the risk behind the verticals and so on and so forth. You want to start something online and say have no boundaries, no restrictions when it comes to jurisdictions, then you will start getting issues. You'll start getting problems. How to get, how to combine, how to orchestrate payments, and so on and so forth. And my idea would be to focus rather on the second group than on the first group. And here is quite a big issue. Just first of all, you need to be at least educated, at least to understand how the system looks, what kind of players we have, at least to understand differences between issuing, acquiring, and say SEPA or Target, and then you really can start working with the industry. But again, when it comes to industry, we have like the payment service providers or some kind of card acquiring, card issuing players. Then we have various, say, the payment gateways, connectors, orchestrators. This is another layer. And third layer is like, say, your situation. You have consultants. Just in order, to proceed and to have the smooth experience, you really need to understand whether you need consultant or not, whether you really can go and to talk to the big MAI or not, or you need this kind of the intermediate layer. That's a little bit tricky issue. As question is quite complex. It's really like, first of all, let's start with the self-evaluation, whether you comprehend and understand the payment industry at all. Then you really need to decide how you can proceed further.
That's
It's a
right.
matter of some kind of knowledge. Yeah.
Ugne, what do you think?
Yeah, to add on that, I think interesting insights from Solus. I do not necessarily think that the Americans like the bakery need to be the experts in the payment necessarily. I believe where they need to be experts is understanding their own customer, their behavior, their preferred methods to pay for this bakery goods. And that may be a bit hard to know beforehand, but it can be easily watched from the historical data. For example, seeing if that customers prefers cash or perhaps bank payments, and also like segmentation helps in this case because maybe and also your risk profile. If it's a bakery, then perhaps there's a business payments that you need to take into account, which is often we see that overlooked, the good business payment support, because the companies also need to purchase goods, electronics, furnitures, and if it's the perhaps older segment that maybe they are not preferring the card payments as they were credit card payments as they were working all their life to not get any loans. So you have to have this variety of options, knowing your customer well, and then take that historical data into account to see which payment methods were prevailing, most preferred, and understand the reasons why. And another thing to take into account from the Americans' perspective is the cost as well of the payment, and if there's something that you can do to influence the choice or influence the risk, to discuss with the merchant to make a good collaboration in terms how to make this affordable and build your profit margins in the right way.
You think, Ugne, is that your responsibility, not as a person, but obviously as a fintech company, to help the merchant to make the right decision in terms of pricing and payment methods, or you just let them to make their own decision and you're just offering your product?
Yeah, I think definitely the latter, that you collaborate and reflect. And I think it's good to build a business model that it's supporting your partner, as if you are really looking for the long short term gains, then it may not be that that partner will be a big brand on your logo wall, rather a small brand. So I think it's beneficial for both sides to provide the cooperation details that would enable the growth for both the merchant and the provider.
It's just good customer service as well, right? At the end of the day, we try to keep our customers happy. Saurius, you said a very, very interesting thing that I would like to get back to it, which is different payment providers are might actually build on top of each other's services. And you said specifically the payment orchestrator. So every tool, obviously, it has a very important role in the whole payment stack. But seems like that because we have so many fintech companies, we are not just necessarily reinventing the wheel. We are just reselling of the reseller of the reseller. So the payment orchestrator might sell a gateway service, might sell another gateway service, might sell an acquiring service. And then it can create a lot of interdependencies in a fintech environment. So even though the merchant thinks that, okay, I've got 3 different payment providers, they might actually lead back to the same acquirer, which can create some kind of risk to the processing. How do you see that? Is it a problem that we are just stacking layers on reselling of the reselling, and that's why we have so many fintech companies? Or you believe that this is just a natural evolution of innovation, and then obviously you just use the competition even to support your services, make your product better?
I think you raised like the 2 questions. One is really like when it comes to the merchant, say we have the huge merchants with the many jurisdictions, and then for sure there is need for the payment orchestration, for sure. This is the question whether you are smart enough to do that by yourself, or you need something like you really can use as I would say, the service provider as a service. That's a question. I really see quite a big difference between the small bakery that you really can get from one provider. Maybe not so many sophisticated payment methods. You can really count on 2, 3. But when it comes to for instance, the company, international company that, for instance, sells some kind of the electronic stuff, for sure, and you have the fewer jurisdictions, even just across Europe, then you really need to understand how you're going to orchestrate this, what kind of risk dependencies, outsourcing risk. This is another different stuff. But the placing attention over the question whether we have too much or not payment services providers, this it's a good question. You really have like on one hand, okay, say that payment services is really not so lucrative business, because when it comes to your, how to say, income, you really, whether you can rely on the, how to say, scalability. You have the huge amount of B2C, and then you charge your say C clients, or you start providing services for certain selected merchants. Then you depend on the merchant. Kickbacks, I don't know what is right wording. And it seems to be that for these, let's say, scalability part with the B2C, for sure, we don't need such number of payment service providers. It's really enough to have just very few providers. But when it comes to the specific services for some selected merchants and some sophisticated services, some services when you need to adjust from time to time, this is not once per 5 years, but maybe once per quarter, then okay, this model works. You really can have the smaller not stubborn, more flexible, say, payment service providers. My understanding is following, as far as you really can create a small monopoly, like in the quite narrow market, you really can survive. Is your market, so you have the very specific payment cross-border providers, and they serve like 100 clients across the globe. Let's imagine, maybe it's a nonsense, but then the 4 or 5 or 10 really can survive the situation. Again, I really can answer in the way that as far as we really have the endure and how to say endurable, or how to say the stable business model, and then we really can survive market conditions, we can be in the market. Then I cannot tell whether it's number too big or too small, because it depends on your business model. And for sure, we're going to see some mergers, acquisitions, that some closures, some turnaround situations, but generally, say this big number of the payment service providers across Europe uh, still has reason, I would say. As of today, it still has reason. What may happen in 5 years, that's a different story, how we're going to deal, because there are crazy ideas that some agentic AIs will be representing, say, clients. There will be some also in the middle, like agentic AIs representing merchants. Some agentic AIs will present the payment service providers. I don't know. For sure, it's still science fiction. But as of today, I think that this number of the payment service provider really fits, say, the market structure and the market situation.
Yeah,
Feed
don't you
market
just love?
structure, market situation. Yeah, number
Yeah,
feeds.
don't you just love that? In our industry, everything is changing on a
Yeah,
yearly basis. Like what we talked about even 6 months ago is completely different than what we are
yeah,
discussing today. And the future is like, I don't even know what's going to happen in 1 or 2 years. So yes, it's a super exciting time to be alive.
yeah. And let,
Okay.
let,
Yeah,
let me
yeah.
finish shortly. And we have like
Sorry.
the iterations. Could be yearly iteration, quarter iteration. You're always supposed to be to turn, to embark on the next, to be one level up. And this is like the business that we take to comprehend when we start working, say,
Mhm.
for payment service providers. That's
Hmm.
his answer.
Yeah, and
Sorry.
I'd add as well that perhaps PSP providers that seems identical with identical setup and flows, but they, yeah, ones are operating in the e-commerce side, others are perhaps in the higher risk in iGaming, in crypto space, and it's uh, generally needed that expertise to serve those customer needs in the different segments. And it would be, I think, pretty hard to have the different payment flows to support the different customer segments of yours. And I think another reason why there are many players, it's because it's all started from the local PSPs, local payment methods. So you can't really get everything from one provider. There are like local ones, and then focusing on the more scalable global payment solutions. And as well from enable banking's perspective, since we provide the account-to-account payment puzzle, for instance, but it still means that we are maintaining all those API connections across 2,600 connections across Europe for all the banks. So our customers, which could be PSPs, would not need to take care of that part of their payment engine. And then there are like Visa and MasterCard that may not want to deal with Americans directly. So then they are also going through the PSP with their payment channel. So I think there are like different reasonings for this layer on layer providers and the quite group in the payment players.
Yes, and regarding the local payment methods, that open banking was originated from the UK and it actually spread around. How do you see open banking specifically? Is it really a thing or it just failed? We try to make it a thing, but people still like to use their cards. How do you see it from your clients? Do they really want to use open banking as much as we hoped that they want?
Hmm? Yeah, I think if we look at the in the initial reasons why we wanted open banking space, which was to regulate the sharing data and making bank payments, which were already in the market. So it's not necessarily the innovation that was brought by open banking regulation, which can be a misconception because it was existing technology. And in the Baltics and Finland, we did have the account-to-account payments way before open banking. It just needed more control for that environment. So before it was done in a non-controlled way with reverse engineering, screen scraping, and there were enforcements taken to regulate this area with strong customer authentication in place, which has significantly reduced fraud and credit transfers, which could say that it was a success from the regulation perspective. And I think innovation part was to scale this to the whole European level. So take it from the markets where that innovation was already existing, make it standardized, and make it scalable for the whole European area, so that you can make a payment from Lithuania by it in a secure way from Spain, and so on. So I think it is success. Definitely, we see the products in the markets that our customers are building that have not existed before. We see ERPs taking and stepping into the products for the corporate customers where only the banks were present before. We can help with this data for the banks to make better credit decisions, for the lenders to serve the SME and consumer sectors in a more efficient way, having the easy way to access their bank data. And we see hyper-personalized loyalty programs with that bank data as a core. We can use this to understand our own finances better, our own financial situation, see where we want to invest the money that we earn. So there are like many different use cases that are successful. I think still it's very mature. It's been in the space for quite many years, but there are still challenges with open banking. One problem I think was execution, that it's been a bit loose and open to interpretation. So there are still API error rates being too high. So I believe what still needs to be happened for the banks to improve their APIs, and for the Americans as well to start believing in open banking payments again, because many of them tried it before and they say, hey, we want it, we love it, but it's still not good enough. But we see it maturing, and we see that there are supporting regulations that, like instant payments, PSR, that are going to shift this whole landscape from the directive, which is eligible in each and every market of EU, to the a more holistic regulation in a same position as GDPR, which is taken very seriously because there's like a monetary fine added to it. So we see the need from the market, and then we see the regulation efforts are supporting the growth in the open banking space.
Nice. Lots of things are going up and changing. Saulius, I know that you had a lot of conversation with your merchant and your providers under the FinTech Hub last year about instant payments, and I'm very, very curious. What happened? Did the instant payment fulfill the expectations? Everybody managed to get the deadlines? Is it really in Europe now through the SAPA system? Can you send and receive instantly the money freely as it was planned? Or were there any hiccups? Where are we with this whole instant payment of Europe now?
I cannot talk on behalf of maybe some Southern European countries, but here in the center, North Europe, everything now is instant, seems to be. And it was quite well orchestrated, quite well managed process. I don't see any issues even, for instance, personally, I became nervous when I do not see arrival of money in like the 3 seconds, just.
Yeah, the consumer expectations
Yeah,
are
it's a
there.
consumer expectation. Then now it's really like instant, Even say some monitoring systems supposed to be adjusted. I think there was quite a big challenge for payment service providers because this was like monitoring of transactions, ex ante, or stuff like this, because it's when it comes to the customer expectations, customer wants to see really the instant execution, not like that there is an instant execution on SEPA level, but then bank decides just to have this monitoring. If there is suspicious transaction, stop for 30 minutes now to try to validate and so on and so forth. And again, that there was a challenge, not so big, but for payment service providers, but no, it's like usual situation. I would rather turn that customers would be very unhappy seeing that they have no this say available option as a how to say the main option as a default option. I would say no, it's dinosaur. I hope in the some countries in the south of Europe. But this is like reality, whether you accept or not. And nothing to discuss, and admit nothing. Done.
Done.
Yeah.
Done and dusted, and it's
Yeah.
working. It's a good
Uh,
use case.
for sure, it's a good background for further innovations like the how to say, let's call this the payment connecting the two accounts, like the proxy payments, let's call it. But this is the nearest future task, and there will be a lot of interesting movements combining this, say, the request to pay, verification pay, SEPA instant. You really can even substitute card schemes, but maybe it could be the different topic. We really can spend hours and hours talking about it.
Yeah.
It's
Just
a very revolutionary.
note, I've actually been checking the Bank of Lithuania stats for 2025, and it had reported that the 68% of the payments processed by Centralink were instant, compared to the Europe's average around 25% of those payments were instant. So I think on the European level, it's still the issue that banks are downgrading the payments that are qualified to be instant to the ordinary SEPA rails.
Yes.
I would say that the situation for 2026 will be different. There will be much more, instant payments, and this part will be totally prevailing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
By law, it's mandated to be there
Yeah, it's
anyway, right?
mandated. Yeah, it's related. So it's then SAT, I don't know. Credit transfers just for hundreds of millions to transfer, something like that.
Exactly.
Then you really expect some kind of interruptions related to the transaction monitoring. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it comes with all the new innovative
Yeah.
solutions.
Yeah.
We had actually a crypto exchange client, and he told me that they basically killed crypto in Europe because the crypto's promise was faster, cheaper, and now in Europe you've got this instant payment through SEPA, which is free, so you can't get cheaper than free, and it's instant. You can't get faster than instant. What do you think? Is it really the death of crypto here in Europe because now everything can go through SEPA, free and instant? Or is there still some kind of unique selling point of crypto? How do you see people still do use crypto within European payments, or is just outside of EU?
Say, crypto is a technology you really can use for the payments, but also you can use for the tokenization of the client's data. No, there is nothing to do with the death end of crypto, but when it comes to payments per se, maybe SEPA will be over, how to say, taking over. But crypto as technology can be used for so interesting things like, for instance, a reusage of, say, KYC information and so on and so forth. But again, Victoria, this is really good idea just to have another, discussion, another seminar on that kind of stuff.
You know
Or we
me,
want
I
to
love to
discuss
nerd
in
out on
workshop.
this.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And I love to talk about these things. Yeah,
under no
trying to
circumstances
get
crypto
something.
will die. No, that.
Ugne, what do you think?
yeah, I think no payment method is better than another payment. It's up to personal preference, and more you can provide, the better. But yeah, it's interesting points, hearing a bit about the comparison with the European payment scale. I believe it could be still very relevant for cross-border payments, and especially in the business side of payments too, where the movements of payments are not that fast, and then perhaps this could be an alternative way to move money in more affordable and efficient way.
But
Right.
now, let's stick in. The biggest issue is not the speed of the payments per se, it's really the speed of onboarding, speed of monitoring, and that whether you really can start using at the full extent the crypto technologies for the boarding tokenization, for the usage of mandates, and so on and so forth. This is really about that. We can imagine if the onboarding is so complex, it takes hours, this kind of stuff, and the monitoring is really big hurdle in the wheels. Then say the payment per se, just a matter of seconds. But if the onboarding takes hours, something wrong, or the monitoring is really big hustle, that's the different story and the different angle, I would say.
Definitely. And what do you think now, talking about all the AML, KYC onboarding? How are we with this? Are there any really good innovations? Are you using any of these new tools, solutions? Did it get easier, or just because the regulator is getting more and more picky, the businesses are having a harder time to onboard the clients with the reporting? Now everything is stricter. How do you see that? Is it better than it was, or is it worse, or is it a combination of everything?
I would turn this into very, how to say, the funny stuff that the question whether our power grid can comprehend this kind of the sophisticated monitoring that will be based on the AI, No, I'm very serious, with the AI, with the kind of say this machine learning stuff, you really can create the systems that will provide you with the instant onboarding, even comprehending huge data, very sophisticated information, or this kind of monitoring also can be done. The big not so serious is really whether we have enough of electricity production and our power grid is strong enough to comprehend this kind of the amount of power we need to do. Everything is doable, everything is doable, and especially when it comes to AI, it's a funny situation. AI is good when it comes to human-made, the I would say conditions. We can create even much more sophisticated, say, compliance and boarding rules, and then AI can really comprehend it. It's good at that. Just the matter of fact that do we have enough electricity? It's strange.
That's the only restriction there,
Yeah,
right? How much water and electricity we have, right?
yeah.
How about you, Ugne? Do you use these new tools in the onboarding? How is your onboarding? What do you see?
Yeah, we do use the providers that helps and specializes in that. So I think on a positive note, again, these new regulations coming are there to protect the end customers, but they're also driving the innovation, because if it's a cumbersome process, there will occur the providers that makes those processes to comply with AML KYC requirements in a more streamlined way. The example actually of the open banking use case that we see, the merchants are not only now using this on the payment side, but also the account information from the bank, from the regulated source, is also becoming a good source of information, the safe source of and regulated source of information for knowing your customer better, doing the source of funds checks, which is also um, being driven by the regulation in these high risk sectors, that you need to check the where is the income coming, what is the income stability of your customer. So that's where open banking also can technology come into the picture to support the more efficient process to comply.
Yes, and I think with open banking, you got an easier task because you already have the access to a lot of important customer data. So that's also helping rather than, collecting all the documents and the utility bill. Oh, it's blurry. Oh, I'm living with my parents, all of those hiccups that usually comes up. But actually, that leads to the next question. And our topic today is trust, really. But do you think merchants really know what they need from payments and they make their own decisions, or they still trust payment providers and that's why they implement whatever the payment providers recommend to them? Is it good? Is it not? Is it transparent? Is it ethical? How do you see this little paradox on the market currently? Maybe we can start with you, Ugne, because you have a good understanding of how to deal with the merchant trust as a provider.
Yeah. I think the trust is the bottom line. I think also what merchants are in need as easy payments as possible, the opportunity to switch quickly to alternative payment method if the one is failing, to optimize for success. And merchants wants to have as many possible payment methods to give their customers variety of options to pay and not lose the sales, um, and that payment flows also would be adjustable in a different device settings with PC mobile flows. So all these things are very important to take care of, but sometimes coming back to the trust is that not necessarily the shortened payment flow or the more modern looking payment flow is easier for your end customer, because I think the trust is built from the security of the payment and also the interfaces and flows that feels familiar to the end customer. And sometimes it can be very vintage and ugly looking payment flow, but it's still going to be the one that the end customer would prefer, and which seems safe to them. So that's my take on the trust side.
Saulius, how about the trust? Is it overrated? Is it blinding the merchants into something that they don't need? What do you think?
No, I would like to turn it in the different way because you know that say 20 years ago issue was the speed of payment. You remember maybe times and say payment from Hungary to Germany took like 3-4 days.
Yeah.
That's a matter of seconds when you use SEPA. Now the biggest it's a big issue is really like the I would say this compliance, ML, and related to boarding and monitoring, because you can expect a lot of citations.
Mm.
And the next situation when it comes to the creating the new stress will be the easing and on making this process as smooth as possible. And just this is really the trust based on certain situations, certain technologies. I expect the very big revolution when it comes to maybe you heard about this OD wallet, it's really like that you can really store all your documents. Simplifying, there will be like two levels: national ID wallets and the providers of the wallets. Then you can really store your passport, your any kind of diplomas, driver license, any kind of stuff you want. Then when it comes to the to onboarding, then there will be like the two machines talking. There will be like one machine the holding this the wallet, and the payment service provider side will be machine extracting only necessary information, and making onboarding decision in the seconds and an onboarding. I think there will be, how to say, the big enthusiasm related to the trust, because that when it comes to trust now, it's really related to some technicalities like collection information, not sending. I would say clients, they're not so happy, not because of this some kind of request, just related to the compliance and monitoring. That's okay. They're supposed to be no brainer. But they're not so happy when it comes to the execution of this kind of task. Say, for instance, we have this trade-off in the Baltic countries. We have the personal code number, and this is not the case in Austria and Germany. And here we can even to send to the center of registers to any institutions 50 addresses. I'm not joking. But in Germany, Malta, it's really big issue. Supposed to have only one address. And this, see, when you have the payment service provider Malta, then ask you to provide with something like, say, the address written password, which is not possible. Or, for instance, the personal code really can help you. And this is not trust, it's some kind of not trust or mistrust, it's some kind of convenience and inconvenience. And finally, we're going to have the solution with the OD wallet, when there will be no such stuff like the starvation because of different, say, jurisdictions. You can store whatever you want, your passport, your any kind of bills you want, your diplomas, and so on and so forth. The future is bright. And I would say general trust, it's a very general trust. It's like ethics, like human ethics, nothing more. But we have, say, general ethics on one side. On the other side, this kind of convenience and inconvenience. And this is inconvenience really can create mistrust. But
Mhm.
Europe is quite unique with the SEPA, with this, with the wallet, say the bright future for the payment industry, say, looking is ahead of us.
And I feel like that there are so many tools, there are so many innovations.
Yeah.
Everything is for the betterment, for the industry, obviously, help the merchants. But somehow, maybe merchants are even not aware of that. And here we are at the topic of education. What do you think? Whose responsibility should be the education? I mean, obviously, it's your business, your responsibility to make relevant decision how you're handling your money. So that's clear. But is it really the regulator who should raise awareness of these new opportunities, new innovations, therefore improving the economy and helping all those businesses? Is it the payment provider who is giving advice, education? But again, it has to have some commercial value. So when I'm educating someone, basically I'm educating them to use my product. So whose responsibility should be the education? How much education shall we give to the merchants? And how merchants know what's the latest and how to take advantage of this if they don't even know where to get this information? What do you think, Saulius?
I think it's not in the regulator shoulder. Regulator is about protecting interest,
Mhm.
whether the public interest or some kind of the market safety interest. I think it's on the payment service providers and related entities like your institute, like this kind of the technology companies. This is on us on business.
Mm.
Ogne?
Yeah, I do think that there should be like an open dialogue as well. Of course, on the PSP side, on about the innovation, about the new payment methods, on how to update the payment flows accordingly. But on the American side as well, to dive deeper into the statistics of their payments and optimize what can be optimized on their side. I think they need to understand what are the main payment methods that your customers are choosing and what are the reasons that they are choosing those payment methods, what are the cost share, and which payment methods are then more affordable for the merchants, and perhaps how they can update their layout, for example, to have if the some payment methods are having more steps in the payment flow than others, which are then more pricey, then perhaps they could somehow make this user journey easier by placing those options that are more favorable for the merchant in terms of the costs upper in the payment flows. So then it's already easier for the customer to spot that payment, maybe memorizing that preferred payment method so it's easier next time when the customer is returning. So I think on the analysis side and the open conversation on the merchant where you can still drive some changes and understand what is the best for your revenue process on that payment puzzle.
What about the association, Saulius? Are you guys talking about this? Is it even a subject? How to educate the merchants? What are you doing in terms of education? Maybe we should implement that. Is it even coming up during the discussions? And if yes, how?
Yeah, for sure. Again, I said it in my understanding that it could be on the shoulders of the payment service providers and the industry as well as on the industry associations. And it's not like the how to say educating, making seminars and stuff like this. Is really like the promoting some kind of providers, the promoting being evangelist of this kind of easiness of the payments and so on and so forth. And but for me it's quite natural. There is no need for this kind of the very specific education, because when it comes to the how to say intelligence of the merchants, they're very intelligent. They really can easily comprehend, especially those who really run this the globally born, internationally born businesses across jurisdictions. They're so smart, sometimes they really can provide you with the better, how to say, mm, uh, information to comprehend. They really can be good sparring partner. I don't think that there is something like that when it comes to payments, this kind of experience that we have the smart payment service providers and some kind of the merchants that they jumped out of the blue. No. In many cases, we've been dealing with the very smart, very, how to say, sophisticated, intelligent persons. And even they drive the technology, say boom, I would say. In many cases, they do that. Yeah.
Because it's a customer demand, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's a
I
customer
need that
demand. Yeah.
solution. It's my
Yeah.
money, so you figure it out. And there's a need, of course.
Because Victoria is very easy. The one click when it comes to onboarding and say no distractions, and everything's supposed to be embedded. Like
Yeah.
finally to Agentic AI is talking to. That's really that what merchants want. It's quite easy to comprehend and understand. How to realize it's another issue.
Yeah, that's true. I always
Yeah.
say that I don't care how does it work. As long as it works, that's what matters to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't need to know how the car works. I just need
Yeah.
to get from A to B, and that's basically
That's
drives
true. That's true.
the market. Yeah. But before we wrap up, I think there is a big elephant in the room that we didn't address. How do you see the future? What's happening with this AI agents? How does it affect our industry? Do you think everything is going to change? And if yes, how? Where are we with AI? So, Elias, you talked so many aspects of the AI. What do you think? Where are we going with this AI?
This is the magic word, but to say when it comes to the essence of the payment service provider, essence is very simple. Frankly speaking, it's the core banking system that really through you can open an account and you can handle this the general ledger of operations. Again, you can start adding on the top of your own solutions or say the software as a service. And this is when it comes to the structural situation, everything is possible. But again, in the future, it's really that before issue was the uh, speed of payments. Done with the SEPA, we have really instant payments. And the next step is some kind of even more alternative payments, like this the proxy payments when you use that, say, to devices, say, with the merchant's IBAN account and with the client's account. This is, again, I hope with the request to pay and the similar stuff will be done. And the third, it's a very important, it's really like the unification, reusability, let's call, of the onboarding monitoring situation. But then it's really, Victoria would say, it's not the trust among, say, not between the merchants and the payment service providers, it rests among the payment service providers. Because when you have no trust, you really can find the best technology. You can create the tokens for reusage of the information, but there's supposed to be trust, some kind of master agreements, say, among the payment service providers. It's a trust among them rather than trust between payment service providers and the merchants. But again, the automatization of the onboarding, automatization of monitoring, and especially this tokenization and reusage of this kind of the mandates, I think there will be the big topic for the next 3, 4, 5 years. And then finally, we will end up that payment will be like a embedded situation. You have something like, I don't know, with the accounting system, you need to do something, you just push the button, everything is done, you scanned, your information collected through the wallet, everything sent, and the machines will be talking to each other rather than someone will be calling asking to provide you with the additional information.
The dream.
No, it's not a
Oh,
dream.
no.
It's not a dream.
Hopefully not for long, right? Yes. Now, do you use AI? How do you use AI?
Um, well, yeah, of course, that would be a bit odd to say odd. I
No.
think, yeah, it's definitely a new way of how to optimize, how to innovate, how to make your processes quicker. We are very conscious on the data side of things with AI. Still talking about the innovation, I think there are so many new players, new payment methods that are rising. We do have many digital wallets rising, the initiatives like Bizum, Blick, Verot. So yeah, there's definitely lots to watch, and probably next year we'll have even more innovative payment methods. But I'd like to a bit make a comparison to the messaging. So there are like a dozens new messaging apps as well, the WhatsApp, Messenger, but we still need to have the SMS as a way of communication. I don't think if a newest phone would be there, like brand new modern phone, but if it wouldn't have the SMS, it probably wouldn't want to get it because, of course, the other messaging channels are way trendier. There are more options, more emojis. But if you really need to get something important, something quick to your emergency context, then you need SMS. So to to that point, I think still with the innovation, we should not forgotten what's already there and what's working, and make those options that are suitable for a diverse group of people.
That's
But
true.
I see some issues behind it. I say that first of all is the like the DORA issue, like the IT security for sure, and then when you have the agentic AIs and that it represents you, and somehow happened that agentic AI understood say that it, maybe not he or she, it can take money and start playing, start gambling,
Yes.
No, it could be issue because we still cannot comprehend this the bright future. We see the upsides, like the easiness stuff like this. But say robot supposed to have some downside. Say robot sitting on this side. Okay, I can make fortune out of the gambling. Just okay. Let's start. Taking 1 cent per day and start playing.
Oh well, yeah, that was some kind of experiment when they gave small amount of I don't
Yeah.
know money to self-executing agents, and they had one job and one job only to make as much money as they can. So they just released them on capitalism, and it was such an interesting thing that how the agent tried to figure out how to
Mhm.
sell, market. But yeah, I think we're gonna see more of this, and it's definitely an exciting time to be alive, mainly in payments and banking,
Mhm.
and in the industry what we do, guys. The fintech industry is super, super full with opportunities, and that's what I love about it. There are so many things to talk about, so many aspects to it. As Saulius knows, I can talk about this subject for years and years if someone doesn't shut me up. But yeah, unfortunately, we came to the end of this webinar, information episode, podcast. I don't know how to call it, but it was an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I would like to encourage everyone who watched us that please send us your comments, your case studies, your questions, your ideas, because I think I talk for everyone when I say that we are very interested of your opinions about your comments, and we will get back to you as soon as we can, replying all these comments on the chat that you are leaving. And I would like to thank for both of you, Ugna Saulius. Thank you so much for having the time to discuss these with me. I learned a couple of things as well, so thank you very much for sharing your wisdom with us. And looking forward seeing you in real life. And I would like to again encourage everyone to please follow HipTap. This is a super interesting uh, series that what we are doing with FinTech by HipTap. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and thank you for everyone who watched us.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria
Thank
and
you.
Zoltan.